Here, well, I'll start off with this wall. Anyway, I paint directly from nature on plein air because I need the information and the inspiration that I get from nature. Plus the fact I'm not imaginative enough to, make it up. So here we go. But I've had great influences. I love Cézanne said painting from nature is not copying the object, but realizing one sensation. So painting is about feeling. That's what it's all about. And of course, Cézanne was the first person I ever really looked at, which I think I picked a good one. And I remember the first painting I ever did, and here was a still life with apples. It was years ago. I mean, it really was the first painting I ever did. And so here we are with the apples again. And we'll go over to this wall. And it's again, I've talked about art history, and going to the museums is the most important thing you can do, I think, being an artist. And I remember seeing Constable's clouds and Turner Seas, and that's what started me painting cloud pictures. And anyway, and these with the still life, I looked at Matisse a lot, always, and he was another great influence. So I think the still life paintings and the landscapes, and then right over there is another landscape with the skies and the seas, and that was in Sussex County. And this will be an environmental statement because now that landscape is filled up with townhouses. No, it's no longer there. And again, verticals and horizontals mean so much to me. And the verticals are the trees, because the verticals create the depth and the horizontals the breadth. And so that was down there in Sussex. And I can't believe when I go by that landscape, it's nothing but townhouses. So again, that shows what happens. Oh, and then that is a mountain. I used to go to this artist colony in Virginia called the VCCA, and that's where I became friends with a lot of poets and painters, of course, and composers, dancers. And that's a painting from down there. And the line means so much to me. And of course, Cézanne again with Mont Saint-Victoire. And the verticals in this and the horizontals keep that painting moving. And I was a musician before I was a painter, so I'm very interested in rhythm and orchestration and line and color and the things that make up a musical composition. And again, the verticals and the horizontals of those iris. And in here, it seems like, the verticals and the horizontals. I keep going back to that. Well, the clouds again, that was on a misty day. And I like doing the different, because the sky always changes.
I did not do it. Look at that.
Well, Constable, having seen a show of constables, I think at the National Gallery, is when I started doing that. And also, another show in New York that got me painting gardens was seeing Monet's show. And I thought, I'm going to start painting more gardens. But I've had a lot of wonderful mentors in my life with paintings, and they've been tough. The first painter I used to paint was Tom Bostel. I don't know if any of you all knew, but he was great, and he made me leave class, and he said, you come back when you start drawing more, because I was just swishing paint all over the place. And so I filled up notebooks of drawings. And that was a great lesson. And then another mentor was Gene Davis and Susie Saunders. Yeah, you knew him well. I think you might have gotten me to go to him. He was fabulous, painted stripes, and a wonderful painter. His work's now in the National Gallery, and And he always had great things to say. And I remember he said, if you steal, steal from the rich. And, and so that made, I steal from de Kooning and Cézanne and Joan Mitchell and Constable. Yeah, and then Joan Mitchell, Grace Hartigan was another wonderful mentor of mine. I had a show with her in Baltimore, and I remember going to see her, and I thought, I really want to meet Grace. And Ned Daniels, I think he was on the board of something in Washington, he said, well, I know her. And I was terrified walking up her studio steps down there in Baltimore on the harbor. And I thought, oh, God, how's this? And it ended up, she wrote me a note and said, I think we like each other. So that I ended up seeing a lot with her. I even was with her one day when I took someone to visit her who was head of a theater or something. And she and this guy got so drunk. And I finally said, we've got to go back to Washington. You have a theater review. And then I remember when Grace stopped drinking. It was so interesting because she was an alcoholic, as was Joan Mitchell, it seemed like. And I said, Grace, what was it that got you to stop drinking? And she said, I wanted to live. And I thought that was great. And then Joan Mitchell, who I stayed with, she was quite something and a wonderful painter. She gave me a little painting of hers. But I remember showing her some water lilies that I'd done at Giverny. And I thought, well, she might like these because they're kind of contemporary. They're more abstract. Can I say it, Rebecca?
Say it.
And she looks at it and she said, too fucking much green. I said, oh, okay. But now, I do a lot of drawing, but it's of the figure. And I'm sorry we couldn't have figure drawings in here. When you see the drawings of, the line and everything. But I do a lot with the nude. Yeah.
These are all painted.
Yeah.
Not drawn first.
No, they're not drawn first. But I draw in the work, like the one standing behind. That's got, some line in the sky and that kind of thing. And this is line in here, and the line I draw with the paintbrush because I love to draw. I mean, drawing's the most economical way to make a complete statement, somebody said. Yeah, I love to draw. I listen to Bach, Beethoven, but I listen to a lot of jazz. I'm a great fan of Don Shirley's and Dave Brubeck and Oscar Peterson. You know all those people, Wilson. Yeah, because I love all the rhythms. Yeah, I listen to a lot of, and I was, as I said, I was a music major before I was a painter. So, music plays a big part. Not easy. No, I have a big homosote board, and these were done in Florida. Chuck Roy, a person who owns a unit, and before they would come down, I would clean up like mad because I got paint all over the floor. I mean, it was outside, but still, that was, and so I would prop the big homosote board with the canvas tacked on it. Yeah, I'm not I said I have to paint en plein air. I mean, everything is directly from nature. But anyway, and that's when the skies and the sea, they were all, the sky paintings mostly in Florida, but then I would go out to the peony fields, and here, and the landscape when I used to paint with Tom Bostel would always take us, around to all of that.
You tell artists, what are your favorite?
Just to keep doing it. Yeah, and I believe in going to museums and looking at the best.
And you still,
I still go to, yeah, I love going to museums, and I always learn something every time I go. The Manet Degas show, which is in New York now. You were on the bus with yeah, we were going up there, yeah. I mean, you always learn from going to the museums. You don't learn from people saying, oh, that's wonderful, blah, blah, blah. You learn from telling you what's wrong with the work. Like Joan, like Grace said, you've got this painting needs a tooth to it. I remember her saying that because it was, I thought, well, it's all airy and abstract. That she could have cared less about that. And Tom Bostel again, you know, making me just start drawing. And that was great. And then Joan Mitchell, too, was a help. And yeah, and Bill Christenberry, who I worked with, he's, you know, Bill's work, photographer. Yeah. And he loved poetry. All of these painters loved poetry, and they were friends. I remember when I was at Joan's one time, and she said, yeah, Sam, I'll meet you at the Dome, which is a place in Paris. And I said, was that Samuel Beckett? And it was, you know. I mean, these are the, you know, it's very interesting. And when I was going through notes, because I used to, when I had the show at the Delaware Art Museum, a big retrospective in 2012, I guess it was. And it was called Painted Poetry. And we talked a lot about poetry and painting and that kind of thing. So, and I got to meet poets. And I've got a granddaughter. We have a granddaughter who's a very good poet. She's got a little book out. And, but anyway, when I was going through my notes for this talk, you know, kind of notes scribbled on, I found a poem that I had written. And so I'm going to read it to you. And then, let's see, it's very quick. Okay. Matisse said, there are no bad colors, just bad relationships. Les mots juste, exactement. And I say, I want my paintings to sing. Paintings en plein air keep things moving, keeps me honest, keeps me from being habit-ridden. Study the way nature draws. Lines of inquiry matter. Keep the process open. Getting used to not knowing. Being an artist and an archaeologist. Isn't it really the search that counts? That's the thing. Anyway, no. Just blues. I think my daughter was saying, she's a big, she said, Mom, you've got to vary your blues more. So I'm glad you said that. No, she said, well, thank you. But I've got to get back down to Jerry's Autorama, you know that, and get some more paint. But anyway, well, thank you all for being here. As I said, we need art now more than ever with all the stuff that's going on in the world. And when I say art, I mean poetry, music, dance, theater, things that lift our spirits.